Hello, my name is Max and I decided to record this video about the terrorist attack that is still actually happening in Moscow. I'm recording this video on 22nd of March. I'm in Canada, so it's 6:24 p.m. So this video won't be about details. It won't be telling you who were the attackers and how many people were killed. I will be raising a very important question about the moral side of the story. The American, British and German and I think also Canadian intelligence agencies, they knew that an attack was planned in Moscow, and they warned their citizens and they asked them to leave Russia. And it was, I think, before the elections of Putin, so it was before March 15th. So they had this information beforehand and they didn't supply it to the Russian government. And so maybe they did supply it, and it brings us to a conspiracy theory that I will be talking about at the end of this video. Of course, as you can see, I'm not a professional, I'm an amateur, I'm not an influencer, I'm not a political analyst or scientist. I'm just a guy who has a very unique perspective on what's happening because of my background. I'm a Canadian citizen, but I lived and worked in many different countries, and because I'm fluent in Russian, English, German languages, so I certainly see more what the media in Russia or in the West are telling you. Of course, the question is, again, was it a moral thing? And there are two schools of thoughts on this, and one school of thought says, of course, you know, we should have warned them, we should have prevented it. Yes, we know there is a war going on in Ukraine, and yes, Russia has started it, but the civilians has died, and I saw the list. As of now, there are 35 people, you know, proclaimed dead, and like children among them, 4-year-old kids, you know. It's of course very disturbing to read this, list, and you know, I got really emotional because of that. And of course, people who think like this, they say, hey, you know, we should have prevented it, you know, it's not a good thing, we're not savages, you know, the war is war, but come on. So those people are innocent, they're civilians. Okay, there is a sound logic, you know, some people are against war or aggression and violence, and yeah, you know, there is a logic behind this way of thinking. But there is a second school of thought. They say, hey, we're at war with Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine, and Russia brought devastation and death to so many civilians, and a lot of them have died. Russia bombarded them for 2 years, and so many civilians casualties occurred. So what we are doing right now, we're in times of war, so we're bringing the war to the Russian soil. We're not just sending drones and attacking the infrastructure. We also now, this week it started, so they started attacking the Ukrainian forces started attacking the Russian provinces in the south, and also this attack occurring in Moscow, a terrorist attack. I think it's, you know, you can say it's a part of the, you know, strategy. So what we want Russians taste their own medicine, and again, so there is a logic behind it. I'm not saying it's you know, it's not good or it's immoral. I'm just telling you a different perspective on things, and you will decide for yourself, so which school of thought you want to, you know, belong. Even my spiritual teacher, Osho, a very controversial figure, look up Wild Wild Country on Netflix. So yeah, there was a cult at some point, but it was much more. Even he said, so why I need to shock people? I need to shock them hard so they wake up, because people are asleep during the day. So you need to, you know, shock them so they become alert. And this terrorist attack certainly, you know, alerted a lot of people. So again, so there is a logic behind it. So this school of thought says no, it wasn't immoral to not to supply the information to the Russian government. It's okay, we're at war. Even the Allies, the British, when they were bombing the Germany in Second World War, so they're not going just for the industry and the military targets. They were going for civilians. And the head of the operation, don't remember his name, but you can look it up, said, "I don't. A million of German civilians, not even worth the life of one British soldier." It's a fact. It's not Russian propaganda. It was a war, so they wanted to win it, and the idea behind it was, yeah, you know, some people will die, but if we don't do it, a lot more people will die, and our own people. So again, war is a very messy business. Reading. I don't know if you're familiar with Telegram. Social network. If you know, I am subscribed to many different channels, news channels, pro-Ukrainian and also pro-Kremlin and moderates and all kinds of people. So I like to read and watch and consume different kind of content and see the things from different angles, and of course the propaganda on all both sides, but there's always an essence somewhere in the middle. So, and I like, you know, to watch and listen to different kinds of people. And now, as I said, I was preparing to go on a date, and I started reading the Telegram, I started reading Russian opposition channels, I started reading the Ukrainian channels and pro-Kremlin channels. And then I was, you know, I realized that this terrorist attack was a gift for Putin propaganda. Why? I'm going to explain how they are spinning the story right now, already. So they're telling their people, and they say this: hey, remember, we told you that the West wants nothing. Again, I'm quoting you the Russian propaganda. This is everything what I say in this video are not my personal points of view. I'm giving you different information. I'm giving you information in different type of kind of perspective. Again, I'm quoting Russian propaganda, very important. So they're saying, we have warned you that the West wants nothing but our destruction. They're coming after, they want our resources. They don't care about our people. They want to annihilate us. So they're evil with all the LGBTQ and whatever, but they just hate us because we have traditional values, and they just want to destroy us. And you didn't believe us, maybe, still, but look at this. Terrorist attack, horrible, and they will be showing pictures of kids killed, and you know, and it will be horrible. I already watched some footage, you know, a gunman shooting at people like in point blank range. So it's like it's crazy, and yeah, it was crazy to watch it, honestly. So, and the Russian propaganda will continue saying that, and we asked the Americans, we asked the British, if you know something about this terrorist attack, tell us please, so we can protect our own people. But they're so evil, they didn't tell us, although they knew, they had the information, and they warned their own citizens. This is just evil. So that's just not, you know, they're like savages or some kind of creatures who they're not human, because look at this, the kids have died. And this, here's, I'm ending the quote of the Russian propaganda, and now my own words. So I'm saying like, hey, and I think that 90%, 99% of people will in Russia, they will, you know, buy into that. So they will buy into that because they were already brainwashed by propaganda, so they will say, yeah, well, of course, you know, they're right, and we just elected Mr. Putin, and he will protect us. And the message of the propaganda gonna be, we need to become more vigilant. We need to hold the line. We need to power through all the blocks. whether it's economic or it doesn't matter what kind of hardship we will experience, we have to, you know, stand all together because it's the time we're fighting for our survival, exactly as we fought for the survival in the Second World War. So when the Germans wanted to eradicate us, you know, the all Slav, that's also, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna be talking about it today, but so, and people are very susceptible to that because they knew it was true in Second World War, so they're like, oh yeah, so they will put like a little, you know, oh okay, so that's, you know, it's all true, okay. And I think now I'm talking about whether it was moral and immoral, and I'm talking about I'm talking about the political side of this whole thing, what effect it's going to have. I think it was a mistake not to provide Russian government with this information because it gives a huge boost. It gives, you know, it gives so much for the Russian propaganda, you know, to create so many different stories, because obviously now even you're a moderate person, you're like, well, you know what, so they actually, the Americans knew about it, they warned their own citizens in Russia, so they knew about it, so well, that was not a good thing to do. And hey, and then the effect will be that it will be the same effect like with sanctions. They try to target, you know, the government and the war machine, but at the end, you know, people didn't care about it because why? You know, nobody started any revolution, and it will have a difficult effect. It will not lead people to overthrow Putin. It will only consolidate the society because, hey, come on, so when you see the dead children, and it's, come on, it's, everyone gets emotional, and we unfortunately are primates who make our own decisions based on what? On emotions. Yeah, so I think it was a huge blow to the Western like allies, you can call, like with Ukraine in the info war with Russia. So it was a mistake. I think it should have been prevented, and of course I feel sorry that a lot of people died in Russia and in Ukraine, but just from the military or political point of view, that was a mistake. Now, as I promised, a conspiracy theory. So maybe the information was provided and nothing has been done to prevent this particular an ongoing like terrorist act in Moscow. And maybe it was bureaucracy, or maybe it was something else. In fact, I've heard the head of the FSB, I don't remember his name, Patrushev, I think. So I remember he was addressing, and I think also the Minister of Foreign Affairs were addressing the partners in the West to provide the information. So say, if you have something, tell us. You know. Okay. Now let's talk about let's talk about the conspiracy theories. All right. So there was this conspiracy theory that allegedly Putin has ordered KGB or FSB, like I'll call it KGB, so to blow up buildings so that he has a reason to invade Chechnya for the second time, like not invade, but to start the second war campaign in Chechnya. The economical situation was so dire. If you read stories about the Great Depression in the United States, I've read and I watched a lot of footage and materials, and let me tell you, I lived in the time in 90s in Russia, and it was much worse than it was during the Great Depression in the United States. And people, of course, didn't want it. Didn't want any kind of wars. Or so many people died. Young guys died during the first campaign. So of course they didn't want it. And but when the buildings were blown up, and we're talking about 9-story buildings in like I think 4 or 5 major cities in Russia at night, huge explosions. And one of them were prevented, I think. So and because there is a conspiracy theory that says, hey, it was done by the Russian intelligence agency to make people angry and to give the political support for putting into order the second campaign war effort in Chechnya. As I say, allegedly. There are, I think, a lot of documentaries by the Russian opposition. Maybe there are even some in English. And well, if you think about it, Putin just got elected for the second time. I made a mistake. No, I think for the 7th or 8th time. I don't really know. I lost count, but he got elected, and a lot of people were saying, "Hey, maybe he will start. He will start a political purge. He will be going against his elites who didn't support 100% his war effort in Ukraine, who were still pro-Western." And maybe he will even start the total mobilization or something else. And there were signs that he was going into that direction, because he changed the head of the a very big industrial holding who was producing metal that you need to manufacture rounds, artillery rounds. So. Again, conspiracy theories. So there were some indicators, and maybe after this terrorist attack, when everyone gonna be very emotional, and he again will do something that people wouldn't support, or would it would create tension. But now he will have the full support again, because he will show, like, you see, the West is against us. We need to fight with maybe internal foes, like the fifth column. Okay, now I told you a lot of things. Make up your own mind.